So what are some phosphorus species in wastewater? We're taking a look at measuring low phosphorus concentrations from the Water Research Foundation. What are some of the species in wastewater, you might ask? Well, phosphorus appears in wastewater in many forms as indicated in Table 1, and many of the phosphorus forms change in wastewater treatment due to chemical and biological actions. Some intentional, many of them are unintentional. The most dominant phosphorus species in wastewater is orthophosphate, a weak acid, and the species used in biological metabolism. Other forms of phosphorus are converted to orthophosphate and are then available to support biological growth. So we can see orthophosphate here, polyphosphate, condensed phosphate, organic phosphate, chemical phosphorus, and absorbed phosphorus. And this also indicates whether the species are soluble or particulate. Particulate fractions are removable in treatment using solid separation processes such as settlers, conventional filters, membrane processes, and others, and soluble phosphorus must be converted into a particulate form in order to be removed from the wastewater. And you can differentiate between the soluble and particulate species is an operational and analytical challenge as well. So what is phosphorus spectation? Well, it appears in wastewater in many different forms. We can see it right here, the spectation right here, and the standard measurements for phosphorus typically detect several of the species present in the sample. Also, the phosphorus spectation is a categorization of the chemical and physical forms of phosphorus in a given sample. And these forms of phosphorus can be spectated in the terms of boxes, such as soluble and particulate. Where soluble filterable is totally phosphorus, passing through a filter, and particulate non-filterable is retained by the filter and determined as the difference between total phosphorus analyzed on the unfiltered sample and the soluble concentration. We can actually see a spectation diagram right here with the total phosphorus, soluble, particulate. We can see the particulate branch off into organic, chemical, and absorbed, and the soluble branch off into ortho, polycondensed P, and organic, all going into total organic. A practical approach to spectation is to categorize the species in terms of analytical method used to detect phosphorus, and Figure 2 shows a spectation diagram based on analytical method, and the species are categorized in terms of soluble, particulate species, soluble filterable, and particulate non-filterable, been used as an industry standard to designate solutes, reactive and non-reactive phosphorus based on species reactivity towards analyte, and it will measure the test as reactive or not, and hydrolysis by weak acid or digestion, and distinction is not commonly used. It will distinguish between polycondensed phosphates and complex phosphates such as organic phosphorus. We can actually see a practical spectation diagram for phosphorus right here, and typical analytical methods for the phosphorus measurement as well, and how it actually works. So that's a little bit of a look into the phosphorus species in wastewater, what they are, their effects, and some things that they do. And it's interesting to see how they affect water and what the results are, especially in wastewater forms. So it's a good idea to know what species and how much phosphorus is in your water.